Good morning, good morning. Woo, woo, woo. Yes, it's a special day. It's a special day. So I'd like to welcome you all. It's good to see some of you here who we haven't seen in such a long time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'd like to welcome those of you online who are joining us today for our Sunday morning celebration. As you know, it's really hot in here, but we're enjoying the warmth of the summer. For wherever you are, we hope you're having sunshine and lots of light and joy and beauty as we're seeing in our grounds this morning and inside our sanctuary as I look out on these faces. That's just all glowing. And so before we move further on in this morning's Sunday celebration, I'd like to invite us all to join me in our opening affirmative prayer. So let us just gently close our eyes and just breathe into this moment, recognizing that one presence and power, that which brought us into being and called it good. That presence is God, and we give thanks for it. And in this knowing, I speak this word for this activity which we call a Sunday morning celebration. I am knowing that every idea necessary for the perfect unfoldment of this morning's Sunday service is now picturing in, through, and as each one of us. And so I know for every person within the sound of my voice that we allow ourselves to be open and receptive to the ideas of truth that are expressed. I know for our speaker this morning that the message she brings is one that is pure hope and joy and that lifts us up to higher and higher expression. So I know for every person participating in this morning's celebration, a very special joy, a very special day as we allow ourselves to be fully present right here and right now. I give thanks, I truly give thanks as I release this word to that infinite law of mind that has already said yes. Thank you, God, that this is so now, and so it is. And friends, I'd like to invite you to join me in our prosperity affirmation, and I'd like to ask you to stand as we say the words of this affirmation. And so together, God is lavish, unfailing, abundant prosperity. The source of all good is infinite and inexhaustible. I unify with and place my faith in the one true source. My life is already blessed, yet I am being offered so much more. Infinite potential, unconditional love, and unlimited spiritual growth are just a few of Spirit's gifts. I am open to receiving them all with gratitude and joy. The God power made me in its image and likeness out of itself, and it wants only to support me. Its plan is to lift me into higher expression. Deep in my heart, I know I deserve all the good things in life, and my acceptance of the support of the universe is all that is necessary for it to continue its work in my life. I deserve true abundance and unconditional love. I deserve vibrant health and good feelings. I deserve happiness, peace, and joy. I deserve prosperity, freedom, and ease in my financial affairs. I deserve to have my dreams come true. My heart is filled with gratitude for all I have been given and for all that is yet to come. I release my word to the law of the mind that always says yes. And so it is. Just breathe into that for a moment. And I invite you now to take your seat. Thank you. And so from that place, I invite you to join me in our chant this morning, which is God is love. From that place of joy, please join me now for a moment of silence. And so it is. Welcome back. And I'd like to invite our young adults or youth and anyone who is young at heart to come up to light our youth candle this morning. Oh. Please join us. Hi. Welcome. And who's lighting the candle for us this morning? I will. Reverend Michelle. The young at heart is lighting the candle this morning, and that would be Reverend Michelle. Okay. So,
I light this candle on the behalf of the youth.
let us behold the Christ in them.
Let us behold it and
The Christ
in
is.
them, and the Christ in them.
And so it is. And now let's give them our blessing. We love you. We appreciate you. We salute the Christ in you. And when we see you as shining lights onto your world, God is blessing you now. And so it is. And then let's sing our temple mission song. Thank you so much. You're in church with us this morning because we're still on holidays from our young adult workshops. Okay, so here are some important reminders for this week. Sunday, August 18th. Oh, really? There we go. So we begin, of course, with our prayers and support as we surround the family of practitioner Sandra Cooper on the passing of her aunt, Mrs. Winifred Rampy, at 103 years, and her son's grandmother, Mrs. Velma Stevens, at 104. Oh, wow. Sandy, our heart goes out to you. But as my mother would say, them take some of my years. But awesome, awesome. Surrounding you with love, you and the family, and our support. And then join us this Tuesday when practitioner Tamu Davidson will be our speaker at our Spiritual Mind Healing service, and her topic is friendships and relationships. Look out for the link, it's sent out by the office. And you can join on YouTube or on Zoom. And then something wonderful is happening. Ooh, for our youth. There is a pool party this Saturday at 1 p.m. hosted by Reverend Michelle, and we're inviting all our youth to come out, join us, to connect, but we want you to specially invite one of your friends to join you. This is the Temple of Light community gathering, and details will be sent to all our parents soon. So remember, make a note of the date, this Saturday, August 24th, 1 p.m. for an exciting pool party. I think I'm inviting myself. Well, friends, you got questions, we've got answers. Join us for Legal Light Saturdays. How many of you know of that activity here at the center? Not seeing many show of hands. Yes, we want to keep plugging it. Please join our in-house attorneys every Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. It's free to all, and it's offered by us as a community service outreach. So join us, and most importantly, spread the words, because there are persons out there who have questions and they really don't know where to turn. And believe me, the lawyers in here and the attorneys can tell you that. Just for a consult, there is always a fee. So if you can get this service, please come on out and make use of it. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then there is some exciting spiritually uplifting weekend coming up. It's our installation weekend. Friends, if you haven't yet saved the date, please do. It's November 8th to 10th, and we'll be installing our senior minister, Reverend Michelle Senegal, and we need you all here. Note, it's the 8th to the 10th. It means we are having an activity every day for that weekend. You'll get more details soon, but it's exciting. That's all I can tell you. And I should know, I'm coordinating. What can I tell you? But trust me on that. You know, if I tell you it's going to be good, it's going to be good. In fact, it will be great. And so, if you wish to support our ministry financially, then kindly visit our donate page at donate.templeoflightcsl.org, which has our banking details. We thank you for your generosity, as together we support a world that works for everyone. And that page again is donate.templeoflightcsl.org. And you'll get all our banking details there. Now, if you need prayer support, that is available with Reverend Michelle at prayer.templeoflightcsl.org. So your prayer requests are personally handled by Rev, and she will send you a recorded treatment. So please avail yourself of that opportunity, and you can use that recording every day until you get your answer to your prayer. But in addition, we have practitioner Tamu Davidson, who is available to pray with you immediately after service in person here at the sanctuary. And you can also call, if you're not here, for those of us online, you can call her at 876-289-0907. So the number again, 876-289-0907. Call and avail yourself of prayers. And then friends, grief support and counseling. That's so important. So many of us are going through that process right now. Please don't go it alone. The temple is here to support you with grief support and counseling, and that's available from Reverend Michelle and myself, and we are both trained in supporting you through this process. So we invite you to call the office at 876-927-6145 in order to make an appointment. And that concludes our reminders for this week. And now I'd like to invite you to join me in our first hymn selection, which is I Radiate the Love.
I radiate the love that comes from deep within my being, love within that flows, extending far beyond the sea, reaching out to touch another soul in true communion. He's my brother wheresoe'er he be. I radiate the love that comes from deep within my being, love that reaches out to touch a mark I cannot see, radiating out to touch the world in true communion. Love returns 100-fold to me. I radiate the love that comes from deep within my being, love that comes from God, was meant for me to share with you. As I give with love a helping hand to every neighbor, I know he will help his neighbor too. I radiate the love that comes from deep within my being, heart to heart that love goes round the world unceasingly. Love I radiate goes round the world to me returning. Love I give flows back again to me. So it is.
And so it is. Please be seated. Thank you. Well, As you know, our theme this month is Unstatus Quo. So if you are ready, hold on to your seats, because this morning's topic are topics that sometimes we don't want to speak about. Well, here to break it down for you is our own Reverend Michelle Senegal as she speaks on intimacy in relationships. So let's welcome her this morning. A rounding sound of applause.
Good morning, Grand Rising. So you all should be well prepared, because at the beginning of the month I let you know that we were going to be tackling some serious topics that don't always come up in spiritual community. So who remembers last week's topic? Trauma one-on-one. And we focused on generational trauma. And after service, a number of you all stayed to break that down even further. So I invite you to do the same today. So I decided, we get these themes from CSL, but if they don't resonate 100% with me, I just take a little license to change things around. So I decided to focus on the spirituality of intimacy. All right, so the spirituality of intimacy, it touches on a deep and fundamental aspect of our human existence by exploring the importance of communication and connection, hence the songs that we have chosen for today, all about love and connecting with one another and loving our neighbors, etc. Because this connection is not just physical, when we touch someone, but it's also social when you're in spiritual community, and it's also emotional. So my emphasis will be placed on the holistic nature of intimacy in our lives and its necessity. Intimacy is one of the delights of human connection. In the Oxford Dictionary, it is defined as familiarity, closeness, or friendship. And in Science and Mind communities, it is said that intimacy is really intimacy. Intimacy, meaning that we are so close in relationship that when you look at me, you're looking at me you're going beyond the physicality, but you're going to my nature, you're going to my soul, so intimacy. And so what is meant is literally being vulnerable to another person and allowing a closeness to develop. It happens on many, many levels. And intimacy allows us to be seen without our makeup, without our masks, without our restrictions, without our qualifications. So the more we can be intimate with ourselves, we uncover our imperfections. And we talked a lot about that last month, yes? And therefore, we have a better understanding of who we are, how we are showing up in the world. Also, we're in touch with our needs, and we also learn what brings us pleasure and what brings us joy. Then we are better able to be intimate with other people. If you don't have a loving relationship with yourself, it's hard to give love out, is it not? Yeah. So here are some thoughts that you may want to consider about intimacy. I got carried away. I may not do them all. I got somewhat carried away. One of my favorite topics. So the divine blueprint for connection. Human beings are created in the image of a rational God. From the beginning, God created Adam and Eve, emphasizing that it is not good for, in that case, it was man, but I'm going to say us, to be alone. And that's, of course, Genesis 2:18. This speaks to the innate human need for companionship and intimacy. Then there's the spirituality of communication that is another level of intimacy. Having meaningful conversations, listening and sharing with each other. Not only is this important for our relationships with others, but we also want to mirror this with our relationship with the divine. I remember one time giving a talk about how can you say you know God if you don't spend time talking to God? How can you say you truly know God if you don't have an intimate relationship with God? So that comes from that one-on-one communion with God. Right? Call it prayer, call it conversations with God, a devotional, contemplation, but it's important to make sure you have that relationship established. That relationship and then relationship with yourself and intimacy with God and intimacy with yourself are the two most important relationships you'll ever have. Physical connection. It can be a spiritual act. Did you know that? You know, just laying your hand on someone's shoulder or on someone's hand, especially when they are going through something. They may not even share with you what's going on. But if you're pretty astute in reading other people's body language, then you know they may just need a touch, right? They may just need a touch. Emotional vulnerability, and I'm going to say a lot about that. And the reason I'm going to say a lot about that is because last week when we had, oh, that's right, I can't walk away, so sorry. I like to walk, I like to move. So let me plant myself here. When we were having that conversation about generational trauma last week, the first question I asked is whose life has been impacted by trauma? Only one person spoke up, and he was my co-facilitator, so he was helping me out. Thank you, Reverend Michael. No one else said anything. And so I said, well, you all are blessed if you've never had any traumatic experiences in your lives. But as the conversation continued to unfold, what I began to see was a lack of intimacy, a lack of trust in the spiritual community, and people don't want to talk their business. That bothered me. And why did that bother me? Because this should be the first place you should be able to come, to be supported, to be uplifted, to just be reminded of the truth of who you are. But if we can't have those candid and authentic conversations, then what are we doing here? It's all kind of perfunctory and superficial. I'm not about that. I am about intimacy. So one of my goals and objectives is to create a sacred space that is emotionally safe and also psychologically safe. Because we don't have to be traumatized by the incidences of life over which we have no control and feel that, you know what, I'm in this all by myself, because you're not. When you're a part of spiritual community, that's what community is all about. It is about supporting one another. So emotional vulnerability. True intimacy requires emotional openness. This vulnerability can be seen as a form of spiritual courage, where we allow ourselves to be fully known and loved by others, and of course, loved by the divine. Embracing this vulnerability can lead to deeper relationships, more meaningful relationships, as well as spiritual growth. Brene Brown, who is a researcher, speaker, and author, has spent a lot of time studying intimacy. And so she says this about intimacy and its relationship to vulnerability. She argues that vulnerability is the birthplace of joy and connection. She says that being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it isn't. I have to muster up strength and courage to share things that are going on with me at a personal level. That takes courage. And so to think that that is weakness because you are being vulnerable with someone else is really just the opposite of what she says that vulnerability and connection are all about. And I happen to agree with her. She says that the courage and the vulnerability go hand in hand. She also often speaks about it because she says you have to be brave. You have to be brave to be vulnerable. And she says that bravery and courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen in me. I see. Intimacy, remember, we broke that down. Vulnerability is about having the courage to take the risk. And what are we risking? Being authentic. Taking the risk to be authentic. How are you? Fine. And you know your whole world is crumbling. But we do that. I call that spiritual bypass. Now, I also don't believe that we have to, linger in what is going on if those things are not to our desire. But you can't just bypass it. It's happening. You're having an experience, right? And we have the tools and we have the equipment. It's called science of mind. We have the philosophy to help us navigate those troubled waters, those difficult situations. So oftentimes I see a gap between what we know and what we do. You all know. You know the principles. You know the laws. But the question is, are you applying them to your lives? So hopefully, over time and not too long, you will close that gap between what it is that you know and what it is that you do. Living the science of mind is the doingness. So it's one thing to be able to recite and to read and to know exactly when this is going to happen in the program. It's quite another thing to live on principle. There's a myth that vulnerability is weakness. Brown challenges the common misconception that vulnerability equals weakness. She believes that it is our greatest measure of courage. And she explains that those who are willing to be vulnerable are the ones who exhibit true strength because they are willing to face uncertainty and, listen to this, emotional exposure. She also studies shame. And she talks about shame versus vulnerability. She says that she delves into the relationship between these two because she describes shame as the fear of disconnection. Did you hear that? The fear of disconnection. What does that really mean? That means that if I say something that is going on in my life, I might feel disconnected, not only from you, but from my source. From my source. But the truth of the matter is, if you bypass it, then you're not going to realize that, and you're not going to take steps to be in alignment. So, overcome the shame. Life happens to all of us, myself included. And overcoming shame requires us to embrace our vulnerability. Practicing being vulnerable is something that we do on a regular basis. You can't say, oh, one time I opened up and I shared. I'm all good with that. I know how to be vulnerable. It is a regular practice when the opportunity arises. So Brown says that we should practice vulnerability in our daily lives by leaning into our discomfort, engaging in difficult conversations, and being open about our feelings. She emphasizes that vulnerability should be practiced each and every day. And she says that it takes consistent effort if you want to live authentically. Who wants to live authentically? All right. Okay, let me hear it. I want to live authentically. I want to live authentically. Well, let's up-level that. Let's make that an affirmation. I live authentically. I live authentically. So she teaches that emotional vulnerability is a source of strength, definitely a source of connection and creativity. And by embracing vulnerability, we open ourselves up, again, to more meaningful, purposeful, and deeper relationships, and therefore, we have richer life experiences. So these insights can be very, very valuable when you are addressing the spirituality of intimacy, as vulnerability is a key aspect of that. Not only with ourselves, as I said, but also with the divine. Jesus was the ultimate example of intimacy. And you're probably wondering, really? I don't remember seeing that in the Bible. Well, it depends on how you define intimacy. He spent time with his disciples. He shared meals with his disciples, which can be very, very intimate. I remember we had a retreat here, and I said, let's be mindful of our food, right? And if we, to the extent that we can just, be within and be quiet and be present to everything that went on to get the food to us from field to table, Well, when you share in that kind of experience with someone else, that's also a form of intimacy. Although words are not being expressed, the presence, you're sharing in each other's energy, and that is intimacy as well. Jesus also washed the feet of his disciple, and he engaged in deep, profound spiritual conversations with them. He also showed compassion and understanding, especially for those who were marginalized, emphasizing that true connection transcends economic boundaries, social boundaries. So Jesus was the ultimate example of intimacy. The role of community, let me just touch on that a little bit. In the temple, I would like for intimacy to be one of the qualities that we embrace here, because it plays a vital role in fulfilling the human need for connection. You all come here on Sunday because you want to connect. You have options. You have options. You could live stream. But I contend it's probably because you want the connection with other people. You want to look into the eyes of other people. You may want to just sing, because that's spiritual too, sing in community with other people. And so this place, this center, it should foster an environment of love and support and mutual care, where we can all experience genuine intimacy and connection. It's an important part of our human experience because it fulfills several emotional, psychological, and even physical needs. So I'll give you a couple of benefits to intimacy. Emotional intelligence. It helps us to learn more about ourselves and others, our values and theirs, and the more astute you become in emotional intelligence, you even understand what triggers you. So we talked about that in our conversation last Sunday as well. I said, for those of you who have never experienced trauma or not admitting it here, someone said, should I go looking for it? I said, no, it's not necessary. You don't want to dig stuff up if you don't need to. But I did say, if you have an emotional trigger, something triggers you, there's a sign. That's an indication that there's something deeper going on. Then you explore that, because maybe you were traumatized. I don't know. But when you become more emotionally intelligent, you also are aware of what your emotional triggers are. And so when you find yourself in certain situations where you are triggered, the next practice in emotional intelligence is you're able to regulate and to manage your emotions, not let them manage you. This is one way that we can continue to grow personally, develop ourselves to be better, higher versions of ourselves, because we are more emotionally intelligent. Also, this leads to life satisfaction. I'm talking about intimacy leads to life satisfaction. People who experience intimacy in their relationships often report higher levels of fulfillment. Deep connections provide meaning and purpose, contributing to overall happiness and fulfillment. Then there's resilience in difficult times. We talked about that a few weeks back. I quoted Les Brown. We said a setback is just a setup for a comeback, right? That's what resiliency is all about. Things are gonna happen in our lives. I'm still trying to get my luggage, you all, from last week. It has not been returned. Some really, really valuable pieces in that luggage. So stuff happens, right? But the question is, am I going to let that adversely affect me, change my mood, walk around moaning and groaning? No, for a lot of reasons. Number one is just stuff, and stuff can be replaced, right? But sometimes we have emotional setbacks that are deep, right? Because something has happened, we've experienced loss, we are mourning, or we may be grieving the loss of a loved one. And so again, when you have relationships with people that you trust, I always say have a circle of trusted advisors around you, then they can help you to work through those difficulties. Ultimately, Intimate relationships help us to have emotional well-being as well as mental well-being, because relationships have been linked to better health, physical, psychological health as well. Self-awareness and growth. Intimacy encourages self-discovery and personal growth, and engaging in deep relationships, it really is the essence of what it means to be human. We are social beings. You live on an island, but you don't live on this island alone. Right? We are social beings. And so intimacy also fosters a sense of belonging. And everyone has a primal need to belong to something. And usually it's something that's bigger than themselves. And so being a member here, or a regular guest here, or attendee here, because, you know, we have things around these titles, so I'm being inclusive of everybody. Everybody who shows up is a member in my mind, but we have different definitions. So what I want to say about that is you belong here. You come here, you belong here, and you deserve to be supported whenever you need support. And you don't have to tell all your business. You can just say, you know what, I need a hug today. I just need somebody to listen for a moment. No, I don't want advice. I just need somebody to listen. You should be able to do that here. So this message really is an iterative process from where we left off last week, and it will continue on next week as well. So I want you to think about these things. Here are a couple of questions. Should one's spiritual community be emotionally and psychologically safe? Should one's spiritual community be emotionally and psychologically safe? And you can talk back to me. Yes. I do call and response, you know. Okay, so the thing is that intimacy is required to create that kind of community. And I'm not saying start telling all your business. No, I am saying you can start by just being fully present to other people and what they may be experiencing. And as I said, you only disclose to the extent that you're comfortable. It's not about telling your business. In fact, if you come to me, oftentimes, and you want spiritual support, you want prayer, I like to go to the story. Because I don't want you to be re-traumatized. So I said, well, you know, what is it that you want? What faculties of God do you want exit in your life? And what am I doing? I am shifting your energy. I'm shifting your consciousness from, oh, woe is me, to co-creator. I want to co-create with the universe the life that I deserve. So I'm sharing that with you because you don't have to feel like you've got to tell everybody all your business. What you can do is say, I just need a little love today. Need a little support today. Have you lost anything by doing that? No. What have you gained? You've gained the very support that you might be needing in that very moment. So please do not misunderstand. I'm not saying broadcast your business. I am saying when you are in need of a little love, a little empathy, a little compassion, you can just simply say that. And everyone who's a part of this community, and this is my vision, is willing to provide that for you. So I leave you with two quotes, and they are by Ernest Holmes. The first one says, we are so intimately connected with the universal creative God power that it is impossible to get away from it. Hence, we never have to wonder whether we are in touch with it. It is where we are, and we are in it. It is in us. It is around us, flowing through us. So, in terms of that intimate relationship with the divine, it exists. The question is, are you present to it? Second quote, science of mind proclaims the spiritual nature of humankind removes fear by introducing love. It places us in the mind of God as some part of the eternal wholeness. So I just want to end the way that I began, and that is that intimacy is spiritual in nature, and it touches a deep and fundamental aspect of our very human our human existence. And I challenge you all to grow in your relationships, to become more authentic, live life with purpose and intent. And in so doing, you will reap the benefits, more joy, more love, more happiness. God be with you, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Michelle. Thank you so much. Friends, yes. Engaging in relationship is indeed being in intimacy with each other. It fosters a sense of belonging. So let us just give Reverend one more round of applause. So that we can intimacy with each other. Yes, intimacy. And so as we move on this morning, we're going to have our musical item, and that's being done by our own Odale Martin. And I know we're going to look forward to this.
And if you recognize the tune, sing along.
Thank you, Odile. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Now, friends, please join me in our prayer of Jamaica, or prayer for Jamaica. Please stand. And together, the radiant light of God's love is now flowing through us and from us to everything and everyone it touches. The eternal light of God's love now completely fills, covers, and surrounds our island Jamaica. The glowing intensity of the light of God's love now interpenetrates and awakens within the hearts and minds of men and women. Truths of life which set free. The light of God's love is growing and glowing in intensity in the hearts and minds of mankind everywhere. Love, health, harmony, goodwill, peace, uprightness, integrity, joy, prosperity, kindness, and our oneness under God are now established, and so it is. And as we're standing, I invite you to just take your love offerings in your hand, and together we'll say the love offering blessing. Together. Lovingly I give, joyfully I receive. Be thou fruitful, increase and multiply. Bless, prosper, and enrich everyone whom you touch, and replenish all of my financial affairs. So be it. Thank you, Father, and so it is. And during the singing of our second hymn selection, They'll Know and Believe It, we can come up and drop our love offerings in. So our second hymn selection. Thank you, friends. Please be seated. And so before we get into our acknowledgments this morning, First, it's Unstatus Quo, right? So we're going to welcome those of you who are worshiping with us today for the very first time. Is there anyone in the house who's doing so? Could you please stand? First time guests? Today? First time today? Okay. No, but if you are online, please put a note in the chat for us. We welcome you very specially this morning. And so, before we move into the acknowledgement, I have one other Unstatus Quo thing to do. And I'd like to invite Faye Kessler to come up to speak to us for a few moments. So just listen as we welcome up Faye. Come on up, Faye.
Okay. I just want to welcome you all here this morning, both members and friends. I want you to know that the decorating committee, which consists of Tina Sherman, Denise Inglis, Valerie Brown, and myself, we are planning to do a paint job for the church. Yeah, a paint job. This is not only because of the installation that's coming up in November for Reverend Michelle. It is also just to make the church look better. And we all want our church to look lovely. We have decided to get it done, and the cost is going to be a little bit heavy, but we know that we can share it. We're going to be we've done quite a bit of painting in here before, but the windows and doors we haven't touched yet. So we're going to be dealing with the windows, the doors, the annex, the top floor, the bathrooms, and the prayer room. And we're looking at approximately $300,000 for everything. That's what we have researched and found. However, we feel that we can manage it. We're asking for your help in either cash or paint. The project is really well overdue, and we have decided to take it on. We know that we can depend on your help because you helped us with the kitchen, and that was successful some years ago. So we're asking you to put your contributions in an envelope, address it to the paint job, and leave it in the office. So we're looking forward to your help, and we thank you in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faye, and sure, we know you can count with our support, okay? That's the paint job. And next, our acknowledgements. This morning, we want to especially start off by acknowledging our floral arrangements. I bet you wouldn't tell me who did those floral arrangements today. Sean. Sean is doing so well. Yes, we want to thank Sean, as always, for his handiwork. And then, of course, the floral angels who support him because he has been taught by them. So thank you, floral angels. Let's clap them all. Next, we want to thank our musician, Dale, this morning. Thank you. We want to also thank the ladies who are our background musicians too, Sandy and Carol. the duo, whatever. Thank you. And then we want to acknowledge our tech team who is in the back. This morning I'm seeing Lauren, Chavonnet, Vance. Thank you as always. And we cannot not remember to thank the hospitality team who we know has something waiting for us as we leave this morning. Ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. And those are our acknowledgements this morning. I would now like to invite Reverend Michelle to come on up to bless our love offering. And of course, please remember to subscribe and like our YouTube channel. That's it for the acknowledgements.
I have one more Unstatus Quo announcement. Today is Jennifer Williams Livingstone's birthday, and we will eat cake. So please stay for cake afterwards. You're welcome. And then also, you all, I just want to acknowledge Faye and that entire committee. They have been working hard, and we so appreciate you. And I know that we're going to do what we need to do because God is lavish, unfailing, abundant. Didn't we say that? Yeah. The source of all good. It's infinite and inexhaustible, so got you covered. So let's take that journey within as we recognize that truth, that our every need is supplied. For the Christ said that I came so that we might have life and have life more abundant. And I resonate and I unify with the allness and the isness that is God. And God is lavish, unfailing, abundant prosperity. So it's from that place and my at one-ment with the one that I give thanks for all that we have received today, all that we have received in years past, all that we will receive in the future. Because I know it comes from our overflow, because we experience unfailing, lavish abundance. And I give thanks that we are able to perpetuate the work that's being done here, the good works that's being done here by the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living. And as we close this Sunday celebration, we go home with an expanded awareness of what it means to be in meaningful, purposeful, intimate relationships with ourselves, with our Father, and with each other. So I give thanks for this, and I'm seeing in my mind's eye that each person that comes here, whenever there is an angst or a concern, that they need not worry about that because each and every one of us is here to support. We are present, we are prayerful, we are compassionate, empathetic, and loving. Love is the only experience that we have here at Temple of Light. So, I speak my word, I send it forth unto the law of divine mind. And that law always says yes because it can only say yes. It cannot say anything that is unlike itself. And it brings to fruition that which I have now spoken into existence through the power of my word. So I simply let it go. I let God be God as prosperity, abundance, health, and wellness for me and everyone, everywhere. We let it be so now. We anchor this by affirming, and so it is. Amen and Ashe.
Thank you, Reverend Michelle. And so this morning, another Unstatus Quo announcement, because right here this morning, he's here in person. We congratulated him last week, but because he's here, we will do it again. Congratulations to Dr. Curtis Watson on his Order of Distinction. Dr. Watson, please stand. Thank you, thank you. Congratulations, sir. Awesome. So now, we will all stand and do our peace song, and this morning we're singing Love in keeping with our theme.
Thank you. birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jennifer. Happy birthday to you. It's a nice sparkly birthday thingy.